Okay, so we've now got our trees here. I've got a big one in the foreground. I have a little row of trees in the background. So I think I'm fairly good as far as meeting that tree requirement. So, and you can have them all be close up. I could have put a tree here. I could have put another one here. I could have stuck one over here. There's room for one here or here, or maybe like two small trees, both right here. Um, so I could have scattered them throughout this area, but I realized this side of my composition was very empty. So I wanted to put a lot of weight over here. And the trees have more value and they're a lot busier than a lot of my buildings. So I thought this would be a good way to sort of balance out my composition. Because before it was very heavy on this side, especially because I have these dark railings that are pretty dark and like there's a lot of busyness going on right here. So I feel like now that's kind of balanced out by all of this. So I am glad that I did that. And let me try to straighten out this camera. So I'm working with my paper. Well, my paper's all crooked, and that's probably not the best way to work. So now I'm going to add signs. So as I said before, these signs could be anything. It could be signs on a building, it could be billboards somewhere, it could be street signs, whatever. So I'm going to add a few different types of signs in here so you can see how those different elements will work. Let me swap this out for a sharper pencil. Okay. So I'm going to add, well, first I'm going to add a sign here, and I actually don't have to do any perspective lines for it because I'm going to make it sort of a banner that's hanging. I kind of want to do a banner here because I have all these little swags of lights, right? It's going to make sort of a swag also. So since it's kind of an organic form shape, I don't really need to use the ruler for this one. And right now I'm liking that because I'm getting kind of tired of this ruler. There. And now I just need to add some lettering to it. So if I'm keeping in mind, the middle of this is about here, right? Here, let me zoom in there. So I'm keeping in mind that this is about the middle of my swag. So the letters here are going to be a little bit bigger than the letters here if I'm making it all even. So, geez, what am I going to write on it? Here, I'm just going to write now open. Why not? So I'm going to kind of follow my swag. Okay, so you can't quite see all the letters. That's okay. You get the idea that this is a sign and it's a small detail in this big, huge thing. Actually, no. I take that back. Let's do this right. I screwed up. Okay. All right, so I've got my swaggy thing here, right? So I'm going to start my letters a little bit farther over. I'm going to make them a bit smaller because what actually happened there was that I ran out of room and I didn't want to redo it, but that's not the right attitude to have. Okay, there we go. This is working out better. All right, so now this says now open, which is, it seems like the sort of thing you'd see on a banner like this. Okay, so we've established this building is open. What next? For this one, okay, I'm going to do sort of an ellipse, but my ellipse is going to be getting smaller as it goes toward my vanishing point, right? So this is going to come out looking more like an egg shape. I know when we were doing our drawing basics, I was like, your lip should never look like an egg. This is the exception. So it would be something more like that. And I'm going to just kind of line up with my perspective lines and see like, yeah, okay, that's a little too, it's coming down a little bit too much. So there we go. That's maybe good. Let's clean it up a bit and see how it looks. Okay, that's probably about good. Not going for, actually, no. If I look at it in relation to the top of this curve, it's not good. I'm sorry, I'm kind of remembering how all this stuff works for my perspective class in college as I'm doing this video, because I haven't done this stuff in a minute. Okay. All right. There. So now we've got our sign. And I'm going to make this cute little thing a bakery. And so again, I'm going to kind of put, when I know the middle of my building is like here. So that's going to be the middle of my sign too, like that. And in bakery, we have 7 letters, right? So the 4th letter is going to be in the middle of my sign. That is a K. So I'm going to put my K right there. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a very light line. Can barely see it there. I'm going to put another one. Can barely see it there. And I'm going to write my letters in this line so that my letters will get smaller as they get farther away. I am so sorry. I haven't been getting a lot of sleep because of this cough and cold that I have. So my brain is not functioning at 100%. There are 6 letters in bakery, not 7, so our K won't be in the middle. Jeez. But we're going to work backward from the middle. Like we're going to start at the middle with our lettering and move to our edges. So B-A-K is going to be over on this side, and then E-R-Y will be over on this side. So we are going to start with K. I'm making my lettering really dark because I'm going to run my eraser over this when I'm done to get rid of these like little formative lines in here. So that's why I'm making my mark so dark. So I'm just putting my letters between these 2 lines. That's going to make sure, 1, that they're straight, and 2, it's going to help them be in perspective. B-A-K-E-R-Y. There we go. There's our little bakery sign. So like I said, I'm going to run my eraser over this to get rid of those light little lines. And I can go over it now if I want to make it darker. So there's a sign on a building. Probably gonna put one here. I think for this, I'm gonna do, using the wrong side of my ruler. Okay, I'm going to make sure this is parallel to these lines. I'm going to do another one here. And then I'm going to make a similar sign on the other side of the building. So I'm going to run perspective lines like that. See, so I've got kind of my little lines here. Now the whole thing isn't going to be a sign. I'm going to define the sign about here and here, like right over my door. And again, I can erase away the rest of those lines. I don't need them anymore. And then I will just fill this in. I'm going to make this a bank. It looks like a bank sort of building to me. And then I'll put a sign there. And so again, here I want to make sure that my letters are centered, right? So I can again figure out where the middle of this is. It's going to be in the middle of, if I were to draw an X, where the center of that would be. So see here, this is where our signs are going to really start to get less clear. And that's fine by me. Because my handwriting is terrible and I really hate adding text to my things. So at this point, we can just kind of freewheel with other signs that we add. Like, sure, that's text. Yeah. I feel like I want to add something up here, but I don't want to make a sign. So I'm going to do like a little keyhole sort of cut out. Just to like add interest there. Without putting a sign on it. Okay, so that's signs on buildings. So how about a street sign? Well, a street sign is going to come up maybe like right here. This is a good place for a street sign. So it's gonna make a little divot here. That's gonna be the bottom of it. And I'm gonna have a straight line coming up from the middle of that little divot. Make sure it's parallel to I'm so sorry. Make sure it's running parallel to all my other straight lines, straight vertical lines. And wait, what am I doing? It's not gonna be that tall. It's gonna be like that tall. Ah. Okay, so my street sign is gonna be about this tall. And I'm just going to go ahead and thicken this line up. Or, if I wanted to be really precise, which I guess we should be, right? I would come along and add a line on each sort of side of that divot. So just gonna, there. Now, a street sign would have two signs, right? It's going to have one sign telling you what this street is, one skinny sign telling you what this street is, and one skinny sign telling you what this street is. So we'll have two sort of signs coming off of this, each with a street name. There's going to be sort of like a little ball on top. So, first sign is going to tell us what this street is. It'll be maybe like that wide. We can erase the rest of this. So maybe that is Main. Every town has a main street, right? And then I'm going to have another actually, it wouldn't be coming this way, it'd be going that way into the intersection, right? So I'm going to have another sign coming off sort of this way, there, that way, like that. And there. So we can't really see the writing on the other side, and that's okay. I can maybe also put one here on the opposite side. And that one would have sign coming out here. We'd erase this little bit of the door that's in there because you can't see through the sign. And then our other one would come like this, right? I think it might have been too long. Oh, crud. Now we do have to think about a name for this other street. Main and I don't know, Bay Street. Why not? I don't know why Bay Street, except that I know it'll fit on the sign. There we go. So we were looking at the intersection of Main and Bay. So if I want to have another sign, like maybe I want to have a little sign here. So I'm like, oh, this is the park. So, and this is a freestanding sign. And if you wanted to do like a billboard, it'd be the same sort of thing, just on taller poles than what we're going to make this. We're going to have this on pretty short little supports. If you just made the supports taller, it would be a billboard. Well, and if you made the sign larger, because this is going to be fairly small. So let me see. I'm going to put a vertical line where I want one edge of my sign to be. I'm going to have it be here. And then I'll go ahead and draw a line there. Actually, I don't need it to be all that big. I'm making this way too big. If I look across the street of my buildings, I'm making this like the size of the building. It doesn't need to be that big. So I'm gonna make this a lot shorter, actually. There we go. That's a respectable park sign. If you're ever wondering, if you're not sure about the sizing of something, look at it in relation to other things around it. So before I had to build, I was going to make my sign this tall, and I realized that's very close in height to these buildings across the street. Like that's not a reasonable height for that sign. So I'm going to make this a lot smaller, like that. And then because my sign is going to have a little bit of depth, like here, I'm going to go ahead and add a side to it. And then from this corner, I can line that up with my vanishing point. There. And then I'll just go ahead and I'm going to have supports on the bottom. And those will again, wait, what? That doesn't make sense. Oh, okay. I guess it does, unless that's what didn't make sense. Okay. I'm way up. I'm like, that's not going to be right. But this line was off. Okay. So now that I have that addressed, this is where my support's going to be. So I'm just going to have two little supports kind of sticking up out of the ground. There's grass around them, and these two little supports are holding up my sign. And this will be, I don't know. Well, okay, no, I'm being lazy now. Let's go ahead and do our lettering. I'm going to do 2 lines so I don't run out of space to write my letters. Okay, I'm going to make this big. How Park. So I can run my eraser over there. I did my letters really dark so that I wouldn't erase them. When I erased the lines, they were kind of drawn out. Whoops, written around. There we go. So we have Big L Park here. I'm running out of ideas. Okay, but there we have a few different types of signs. We've got a banner, we've got signs on buildings, we have a couple of street signs, we've got this freestanding sign. If you did this but made it a whole lot bigger, that would be a billboard. And you can put these sorts of signs on top of buildings as well. if I wanted to take this building or take this sign and put it just standing on top of the building, kind of like we had done these facades, it would just look like this, but stuck on top of a building. And that I think is about it. Oh, I forgot I was going to make this a sign also for a law office because it looks like a place of sadness. Um, okay, and that's it for our signs. So next we're going to look at some other objects that we can add in here